This review topic is called graphing lines in standard form. Standard form is in the form of AX plus BY equals C. That's standard form. So if you think about this, this is some number times X plus some number times Y equals a number. So looking here, we have A being 3, and we actually have B being a -4. You can think of this as a plus -4 if you want. And then we have our C being -20. Now, how do you solve these problems? These problems are really fun in my opinion. I'm going to rewrite the problem down here. To do this, I like to use 2 coordinates. And we should know that anytime you have 2 coordinates, you can draw a line between them. So the first coordinate is going to be 0, something, meaning that my X value is 0. And I have to find what my Y value is. I don't know what it is. So what we do is we're going to go into this equation, and instead of writing X, I'm going to write X as being 0. So I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to have 0. Okay, now what happens here? Well, 3 times 0 is what? 3 times 0 is 0. So I'm left with simply a -4y equals -20. Right? Because this becomes 0 and it disappears. It's like bye-bye. So I'm just left with -4y equals -20. So I'm going to divide by -4 on both sides. And the -4's cancel, and I'm left with y equals whatever -20 divided by -4 is, and that's just 5. So I've got my first point. I need one more point to graph a line though. So to do that, I'm going to redraw this. Remember, this is just coming from straight up here. This is 3x minus 4y equals -20. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a 0 in for the y. And now I'm looking for what the x is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace my y with 0. So I'm going to take this y out and I'm going to put a 0 in instead. So this whole thing right here becomes -4 times 0. Well, that's -0. In other words, this disappears. It's gone. So now I'm left with 3x equals -20. So now I'm going to divide by 3. And I get x equals -20 divided by 3. And I'm going to get a rough decimal estimate. I usually don't like you answering in decimals, but because we're graphing this line, I think we need to. So that's -6.66. So I'm not going to write that as my number as my coordinate, but we can use that to help us know where that is on the graph. Okay, so now I have 2 coordinates, and remember, when we're graphing a coordinate, the x is the left or the right, and the y is the up or the down. So here I'm going left, right, 0, but I'm just going to go up 5. So the coordinate 0, 5 is located right here. Now here I'm going left/right -20/3, which is -6.66. And I'm going up, down, nothing. So I'm really just going left, right, because negative would be left. I'm going left -6.66. So I don't know, that's roughly like right here, I would say. I'm just going to connect those two, just like that. And I've graphed my line. Okay, let's go ahead and let's try another one. So if you don't mind, I'm going to erase this so we have a little bit more room. All right, blocking this off. So my next equation is x minus 2y equals -8. So I have x minus 2y equals -8. First thing I like to do is just go like this, 0, missing, missing, 0. And if you need to remind yourself, this is the x, and you're looking for the y. This is the x, and you're looking for the, oops, sorry. You have the y, you're looking for the x. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this x value of 0, and we're going to put it in for x. So that gives us 0 minus 2y equals negative 8. In other words, that's just simply going to be negative 2y equals negative 8. Divide by negative 2. Negative 2's cancel, and you're left with y equals 4. All right, next time, now what we're going to do is we're going to replace y with 0. But before I do that, I've got to rewrite my equation as x minus 2y equals negative 8. All right, so now I'm putting y in for 0. So I've got y is going to be 0. So now this becomes a 0. And I'm left with x minus 2 times 0 equals negative 8. Okay, well, that's going to give me, this whole thing is going to disappear, and I'm left with x equals negative 8, and that's it. I'm just going to put a negative 8 in right there. So let's go ahead and graph these 2 points. This will be a left-right 0, meaning I don't go left or right, but I'm going to go up 4, because it's a positive 4. So that's my first point. Okay, this next one here is going to be a left 8, right, because it's a negative. So that's going to be left 8, and then it's going to be a up, down 0, or nothing. So I'm just going to go left 8. And it's tough to see here, but that would be a negative 7, maybe a negative 8 right here. So go like that. And I know it's not perfect, but if you have your coordinates listed correct, then I'm going to give you full credit for it. All right, good stuff. Looks pretty similar to the last one, but not quite. Okay. Let's try number 35 here. I know, it's like you've skipped a bunch of problems. All right, so I've got x plus 4y equals negative 8. So x plus 4y equals negative 8. Again, 0, comma, missing, comma, 0. Here I'm going to put my x value of 0 in here. So I'm left with a 4y equals negative 8. Divide by 4. 4's cancel, and I'm left with y equals negative 2. All right, next thing I'm going to do is instead of putting x in for 0, I'm going to put y in for 0. So that whole thing disappears, right, because it'll be 4 times 0. So that's gone, and now I'm left with just x equals negative 8. All right, so graphing these 2 points right here, 0, negative 2 is just a down 2 because it's left, right, 0, and it's going to be a down 2 because that's negative. And then this is going to be a left, right, or a left or right. Well, in this case, it's going to be a left 8. So again, I'm going to estimate around here, and then up, down 0. There we go. No big deal if these pop off your graph or you've got decimals. That's a real life situation. All right, x equals negative 2. X equals negative 2 is going to be a bunch of coordinates where your x is negative 2. So maybe negative 2, 1, negative 2, 2, negative 2, 0, negative 2, 4. I'm going a little crazy here, but you can see that basically I just have a bunch of coordinates where my x is negative 2. So if my x is negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and graph those coordinates. So that's left 2, up 1. So left 2, up 1. This would be left 2, up 2. Left 2, 0. Left 2, up 4. Left 2, up 5. You can see what's going to happen here. I'm just given a vertical line. So for x equals negative 2, that line is going to be vertical. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but I promise you that it is true. If you have a y equals 4, that's going to be a horizontal line. I am going to do another video on that, so if you're kind of confused about this one, no worries at all. All right, we're going to do one more. And I'd say stop your video and try this problem on your own. Okay. You're back, so what I would do is put a 0 here, and then put a 0 here. I'm letting my x be 0, So that's going to give me the x being 0 makes this disappear. So I'm left with just a 3y equals 6, divide by 3, that's y equals 2. So that's going to be my y. All right, so I've got my x and I've got my y. All right, now I've got to set my y to be 0. So if I set my y to be 0, that's going to be 2x equals 6, right? Because this disappears, it's gone. And if I divide by 2, I get x equals 3. All right, now graphing these 2 points, 0, 2 brings me up to here, and 3, 0 brings me here. Remember, left, right, 0, up 2. So that's where this point comes from. And then this one would just be right 3 and then not up or down. So right 3. And there's our line. All right, thanks for playing the game.